Another popular way that pre-tribulationists try to deal with 2 Thessalonians 2 relates to the word rebellion, sometimes translated as falling away or apostasy in verse 3. It is one of the two things that are supposed to happen before the day of the Lord. This is usually understood to mean a falling away from the faith, that is, Christians apostatizing or leaving the faith of Christianity. Recently, some pre-tribulationists have put forward the idea that the word behind this word rebellion, apostasia in the Greek, means the rapture. The idea is that Paul was teaching that the rapture would happen first, and then the man of lawlessness would be revealed. This is usually done to preserve the all-important pre-trib doctrine of imminence, that no events can come before the rapture.
But in 2 Thessalonians, they come to this text, they got real problem, they know it's difficult, they know it poses a great problem for their position, and so what do? They take a word, apostasy, say, aha, this word is referring to the rapture, the falling away, the taking away of the believers on the earth.
This interpretation has two serious problems. The first is the complete lack of any evidence that the word apostasia can mean the rapture. And the second is that such an interpretation would mean that Paul is making a nonsensical and utterly useless point in this passage. Pre-tribulationists claim that the apostasia can mean the rapture because the word is sometimes translated in early English Bibles like the Tyndale and Geneva Bibles as the English word depart. They would say that if the word can mean depart in English, it might also be a reference to the rapture, where believers will depart the earth. The problem is that the word is never used that way. When the early English Bibles used the English word depart to define apostasia, they meant it to be understood in a non-spatial sense, as in, he departed from the faith, or he departed from sound doctrine. The word is never used to describe physical departure as in, he departed from his house, or, as in our case, he departed from the earth.
It always means a non-physical departure, such as, for example, a political rebellion or an apostasy from the faith.
The word is used 5 other times in the Bible, and each time it's used in a political or religious sense, never in a physical sense. Even if you expanded your search to include all of the secular writings in Koine Greek, you wouldn't find the word used in a spatial or physical sense.
Show me a historical reference where this word is used that way. Any writing, any historical writings, 200 years before the New Testament, 200 years after the New Testament.
In defense of this view, some pre-tribbers will go so far as to committing the so-called root fallacy. What they will do is say that the root for apostasia, which is probably the Greek word aphistemi, can mean a physical departure. This method of interpretation is universally rejected by Greek scholars because it's not a reliable way to determine the definition of words. To give you an example from English, the root word for nice in Latin actually means to be ignorant, but no one thinks that the sentence, John is nice, has anything to do with John being ignorant. Bringing up the root of apostasia is a desperate attempt to defend a particularly bad theory. The second reason this argument makes no sense is that if the word apostasia means the rapture, then Paul's argument to the Thessalonians is essentially that the rapture can't happen until the rapture happens.
The fatal problem with this is Paul says that these things happen before the coming of our Lord and our being gathered to him, which is the rapture. And so it is illogical to say that the rapture must occur before the rapture occurs.
What it's doing is it's making Paul say that, well, the rapture can't come before the rapture.
To their credit, this apostasia is the same thing as the rapture theory is openly rejected by the vast majority of pre-trib scholars.
Even their own scholars, such as Paul Feinberg and John Walvoord, Two of the most esteemed pre-tribulational scholars have completely rejected this interpretation.
They haven't even convinced all pre-tribulationists of this, who argue that the apostasy, in Greek, he apostasia, means the rapture. By that, Paul means the rapture. That's a very difficult case to make, if not an impossible case to make.